with that blizzard. I think he laid down and he was covered in snow, and he knew he was camouflaged. I think he just laid down wherever he stopped feeding, near that blowdown, just a little bit of security cover right there, and he just erupted 15 yards away from us, like he was covered in snow. I never even seen him.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
All right, we're good. Are you guys done fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, for now.
Can you guys hear all right? Need me to turn up your mics at all or your headsets?
Sounds good.
I'm
good,
good.
Beau.
Okay.
You hear me good?
I can hear you loud and clear. So I've got the Johnny Stewart, and do we put the in front of Pete 6 or just Pete 6?
Just Pete 6. I haven't earned a V yet. Maybe in another 15 years when I get to be as old as Johnny.
Well, Johnny, how do you get that? How do you get that to be able to put the in front of it?
Well, actually, how it got there was Toomey, Chris, our buddy.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I started, he did it. He started my Instagram page.
Oh, did he really?
He's like, here, I'm going to give you a name, the Johnny Stewart. I was like, all right. So he set it up, and that's how it got there. So it kind of stuck. So everything's the Johnny Stewart.
That's awesome. That's pretty funny. Well, it's, I guess at the time of recording this is December 6th here. I'm actually going to turn this one around and release it next week. As soon as we get done here recording, I'm going to get on editing it because it's pretty timely. You know, we're still in, we're in gun season here, first week in Pennsylvania. And I know across other states, there's gun seasons going on. We've had some really good weather. We've got snow. We've got cold weather. I mean, I don't remember the last time it's been like that. Johnny, do you?
I think maybe 20 or 21. I know the first day of gun season, we had a couple inches. I tracked one. I got one then. But for the most part, yeah, it's been warm. And I think that's what is helping our herd here, health-wise and rack-wise, honestly, is the few years have been warm and helping them survive the winter, and their body starts rebuilding before their rack in the spring. And
yeah,
if they're not run down that bad, so everything goes to their rack. So that I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think in places like some of the northern states, Pennsylvania, I'd throw into that, and then further north, obviously. But I mean, they see it out west all the time. If you're like looking to draw like a good elk or mule deer unit that you have a bunch of points saved up for, usually don't burn them if they've had rough winters, because usually the antlers are affected by it. And I think we're seeing that here, where the last 2 winters have been very mild, and we've seen bigger rack sizes than in other years. And, that can change. We have a rough winter this year. It might be, they're stagnant as far as not growing any, or
yeah.
I agree with that, with the nutrients going, their body's already okay, so they can go to their antlers a little bit.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah.
I think the hard winter and just the weather we've had has made it really good for the hunters. Like, I've never seen an opening week like we've been a part of. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think also the rut was pretty warm. There was a lot of warm weather during the rut, and I think everyone struggled for the most part during those first couple weeks in November. So there was, I had said it the day before. I was like, man, if you have a gun tag right now, probably the best place you've been in 10 years as far as for opening day. And we've seen it across the board. I mean, between your camp here, Johnny, and our camp, which I consider you guys a part of that too, is the bucks have been stacking up. I mean, as we're recording this, like I said, it's a Friday of the first week here, and there's only a couple people left in my family that still have buck tags that are left, because we're planning on doing some drives tomorrow, but we haven't done any driving up to this point.
Yeah, and Pete, I told him, I said, I said, we're going to kill it. Like I could feel it like through the week. It was the weather kind of started off good, windy, some snow, and got a little calm and crunchy. But I kept an eye on the weather, and when the storm came in, I said we're going to kill it. We're going to get a deer for sure.
So I get a question, but as we kind of get into this, Johnny, like when you're looking at, say, an opening day of a gun season, I don't think it really matters whether it's in Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, wherever it is where there's going to be more pressure than normal. How does that pressure play into your strategy, or how are you thinking about going where to sit or walk, or what are you kind of thinking?
Well, I think if there's too much pressure, I'm not even going to hunt an area. If I don't feel like there's food there or cover or something, you got to hunt where the deer are. So if it's an area, a state that I'm like, and I've learned some other areas I hunted, and I said, you know what, we're just going to hunt hard. We'll get on them. But the pressure kind of pushed the deer out, and it don't matter how hard you hunt. If the deer aren't there, it's not going to help you. So you got to find them, whether it is food or cover, and just maybe small amounts of pressure to where there's still deer in your area to hunt. So first off, you got to know there's deer there for one of those reasons. But the pressure up here is pretty significant the first day of gun. We tried, and I go like this and like this because sometimes the bucks are right under your nose with the pressure. And then sometimes you find them far back. So we were kind of hunting an area that I found sheds, and I know they feed in the winter, and we tried that. And we also hunted further away from people, kind of a mile from the road, areas like that. So, it's just kind of like, and what's nice about being here all week, you can kind of feel out the pressure where guys have been, especially with the snow on the ground. You can actually see boot tracks. There's no one like as soon as we see an area that no one's been in. I've been in this area that I know there's bucks. It's like, we're good. Let's hunt here. But even where we shot that deer yesterday, there was guys in there. So I don't know, it's hard to say. But as far as pressure,
So what you're saying is, like, on the first day, you're trying to find areas outside of pressure, or unless you have like kind of a good feeling of, okay, this pressure could be used to my advantage, then you might sit, or even then, if there's too much pressure on like opening day, you're just like, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, it's all pretty much situational, different states, mass crop or food source. It's hard to say. But I feel like for the most part, this is when the pressure is high for deer. You get into the second week of gun or further into December, the pressure dies off and they have to feed more. They don't have no body fat. So I'll hunt through this time, early December into November, but I still look forward to that end of December, January, because I just feel like you can pattern them. They have to eat.
It was interesting because talking with Johnny when we first got up here, I was like, when's the last time you rifle hunted? And Johnny's like, well, I really only like to rifle hunt if the conditions are right. Like, if they're perfect. Like, if we didn't have this snow and stuff, like, it seemed like to me like Johnny would have went to a different state.
Yeah, that's true. If there was something better, getting the odds on your side, if there's another state that you feel like you got a better chance. I think last year I was in Ohio. Well, I did tag out, but I don't know, just wherever you think you got a chance.
Yeah. I guess when I look at like opening day, I struggle with opening day. Like, I don't really feel like I have good plans for it for the most part. As like, even there's areas, and I've talked about it before, that I've found where bucks kind of retreat to when rifle season hits. But sometimes it might take a day or two into it before they go to those places once they realize it. But if people are in the woods the few days, Thanksgiving, the days leading up to it, hanging stands or checking spots, then I feel like it like triggers it in them, and they're like, okay, I'm going to these areas. And then there's other deer, like you said, Johnny, that figure out how to live amongst the pressure and kind of hunker down and go through that. But my strategy's always been for opening day of sitting from dark to dark and not moving because I'm worried about bumping deer to other people, and hoping that other people are coming in for lunch or whatever, and that might be pushing deer around, or they're getting cold and they're up and moving, and getting deer moving a little bit more.
I think for the most part, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't want to be around anybody. Well, I like to walk. I feel like bow hunting so much. It's a sitting game, waiting. And I do think the deer that I would like to target are 5+, and when that pressure is on, like you said, just before the season, even bear season in the gun here in PA, they're nocturnal, especially with some warm weather. And I think a lot of not the 2-year-olds and yearlings, but I think for the most part they hunker down and they hide. And I think your best bet is into the second week that when the pressure's down and you got a better chance. But I do like, and with the snow, I just like learning. I'm so intrigued by following the deer where they go, and that makes them start feeding. I guess what we were kind of checking into with the snow is places that I found sheds in the past, which is like mid-December into January where they shed. But with this snow, I think it forced them into a winter area quicker. So, and that was kind of what I was banking on. We were hiking a lot the first few days when the storm come. Like, we're going to go out maybe tonight doe hunting an area. And I saw tracks going into this area crossing the road. And the first few days they haven't been in there because there was 1 or 2 inches of snow, like not enough to get into that winter feeding area. And I've seen a pile of deer. And so, yeah, I think the food source there, when they're getting the snow, like, it forces them into like a wintertime feeding.
You want to angle this up a little bit more, Johnny? Just there you go, just right there. Thanks.
I think, like, in terms of the pressure aspect, like, I truly believe that our rifle season starts a week early when the bear hunters go in and do the drives, like, especially areas that I've hunted, like, there's a lot of bear pressure, and these deer, they can't tell the difference between a bear hunter and a deer hunter.
Yeah.
And that starts to push them in even earlier.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's where Johnny was mentioning situational. It's like each place and area is so different, and then there's like you went to an area here. I don't remember if it was the second day, I think maybe, where you'd said you remembered in the past there being all this pressure and all these people, and you didn't. There was like 2 sets of boot tracks, and then you could see where they went, and there was this whole vast area that there was nobody touching.
Yeah,
and that's. Yeah, and deer acting like deer, like you were seeing, the tracks in the snow and how they're moving. But you mentioned something about them moving kind of their winter areas. Do you find that being like a long ways away, or does that just mean kind of shifting their patterns within their original area?
I think just their original areas. They're digging into ferns, and I like the steeper hillsides. I just feel like gravity's on their side. They can sense. It's easier to paw into a hillside than it is on a flat to move 8-10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
And I see them a lot, like uprooted trees and ferns, so they don't have to work at all for it. They just nip on the ferns. But definitely hillsides help. I mean, gravity's on their side. They're just easier. There's, less, work to get to the food on a hillside. So it's usually hillsides, rarely flats. Leeward, out of the wind is a huge thing. So we're in a lot of flat areas, but I try to find terrain, especially with that first day. We had some 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So leeward areas, just within their home range, that have just traditional wintering, digging in the ferns. So it's just in amongst their radius of travel where they live, and they know it's that time to get to that spot.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like the deer have been putting their feed bags on a little bit here, and the digging up the fern bulbs, and then the black cherries that were still left on the ground that they didn't get in early October. Both my uncle's buck, he had shot a big one opening day. He was just feeding on black cherries at like 11:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And when he shot them, my dad's was feeding on black cherries. Like, that was, and basically, not everywhere has cherry trees. So, but it's whatever that food source is. It seemed like they were really hitting on, whether it be acorns or, like you said, fern bulbs. I noticed I was up in New York and they had a lot of snow there, and they were hitting the greenbrier. They're starting to hit that pretty good too, where I'd see like a patch of greenbrier and then watch the deer kind of go in, and they'd nibble down and lay down there next to it, get up, nibble around a little more. It was cool just to watch the tracks, because you could see exactly what they were doing and seeing where they were nibbling on stuff and kind of moving through.
Now, I've noticed once you get to about 18, 15, 16 inches of snow, that's when they'll start doing their browsing, twigs and stuff like that, because it's just too much work to get to them fern balls. But as far as cherries, Beau, I mean, where I hunt is cherry trees, so like it's hard to concentrate a patch of cherry trees because they're everywhere. But we noticed this one big deer that I've been hunting. He was feeding on a hillside in these cherries, and I catch his track on the road going up there at night. So I'm like, is this the only place that has cherries that he's coming here, or I don't know. Like, I asked myself this question because, I mean, the forest is full of cherry trees, so it's to me it's like there's food everywhere. But or is it just certain? I wonder what the crop is for like cherries. Is it just like do they all produce, or you know what I mean? Like, so because you can't really for cherry seeds everywhere. I mean, how are you going to?
Well, I guess what I had found with it is I feel like most years it's like all the cherry trees seem to do it. Less so like, oak sometimes some produce, some don't, where it seems like cherries, most of them do, but it's area by area that I've found also. But the thing is, like, the areas that have the highest concentration of cherries has the most likelihood of them still being on the ground come December and, when that snow hits, versus areas that are kind of like sparse with cherries that are dropping.
Yeah.
They might be scooped up in early October and never get the chance to turn into those like raisins that they like once it gets cold and snow heats up. But I think like, what you're saying of if you have those combination, you got cherry trees, you got ferns, you got browse around there. Now you got a whole bunch of stuff in one area, and that's increasing your odds a little bit more. But I think if someone wasn't taking note to it, they should. What you said about the hillsides and the ease of them getting that food and digging it up versus being on a flat or being on an area that's windswept with snow, having more of it in there. Because I mean, deer have to spend their whole lives basically trying to survive. It's like when they can conserve energy, they're going
a little bit. Yeah, helps.
Yeah.
In terms of like some of the bedding locations that we've been seeing, is interesting to me when we went into these areas, and it's like these deer were just focused on bedding by these giant rocks.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Like when we found those rocks, it was like those big rocks, like not little rocks, big rocks.
Big rocks.
Oh, and it's like they just loved it. It was like a giant windbreak for them, and they're hard to see too. If they're on one side, you can walk right by them.
Yeah,
they wouldn't even get up. Johnny, we got bamboozled, caught with our pants down, quite literally, with a buck by a big rock.
But it was just a little buck.
Yeah, it was interesting though. You better enlighten them on that one.
Yeah, we got in amongst those rocks, leeward side. We were higher elevation, 2/3, and looking down. And we had, run backwards. We were below the rocks, lower, looking up. Yeah, and we took a lunch break. Probably noon, it was first day or so. So he starts eating his sandwich.
Just a lunch break?
Let me get to it. So nature was calling. I had to go take care of business. Come back, and I just look up in amongst them rocks at 120 yards, and I see the silhouette, like in the snow, ears, and like a deer's face. Like, I'm like, Pete, I think there's a deer laying there looking at us. So I'm looking at my binoculars. I'm like, it's a buck. And Pete's like, let me see. And he's grabbing it, and we're moving kind of like this. So I think then the deer, he was watching us, and we didn't know he was there, but I think he figured out, hey, the gig's up. These guys know I'm here. Excuse me. I said, he's not bad. And I was like, Pete, you want to shoot him? I said, I don't know if it's one that I want to shoot. And he looks a little bit, and then he gives me the binoculars back, and the deer's like, oh, I'm done with these guys bickering. He just like gets up slowly. And I seen he was probably 125 inch. And we found a shed higher on the hill. I think it was his from the year before. And he walked off, but he was in amongst those rocks. And we had come back in a day or two, and we were above the rocks and with the snow, and they were feeding up above the rocks on the steep slope and the ferns. And we saw 2 sets of buck tracks go down in the rocks. And one of the deer, Pete, caught seeing us and took off. But I think probably 3 or 4 areas we went, I kept saying they like these big rocks, and there was bucks.
Yep.
There was definitely bucks in amongst those big rocks. So it's weird. Like, to me, it's cover for them.
Yeah.
You know, they're always at, because them big rocks aren't everywhere.
Yeah.
Usually on a hillside, and if it's leeward.
Yeah, well, it's giving them like complete protection from the wind at that point of like especially when you get higher winds and it's blowing it's just keeps them kind of protected there, almost like they're in their own little house. But
yeah,
nothing can come behind them. You could pop up over, but at that point they still have the element of surprise on their side.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I didn't think I heard that story, but it makes sense that, Pete had stopped you to have some lunch. You know what I mean? He likes to eat a lot, and
you're not wrong with that.
I got to pack him 4 sandwiches every morning.
You pack it for him.
But that buck, he got a full show of Johnny
sleeping.
Stewart. He got a full show of the Johnny Stewart with his pants down.
He did.
Did he? So, Johnny, is it true that you make sandwiches for Pete every morning?
Ooh, I don't know about that. We take turns.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys do help each other out.
Yeah.
Well, he likes his beauty sleep.
Ooh.
So, like, I let him sleep, but he's young. He's a grown boy.
So, for anybody listening, Pete's filming Johnny this whole year. I guess I didn't go over that at the beginning. So,
yeah,
that's an interesting
so
job.
I'm Johnny's cameraman, cook, maid, therapist. I'm his eyes, his ears. Like, jack of all trades, master in none. I'm. This is my first year getting into the videotaping and that aspect, so I'm playing it live, playing it as I go. I have a mentor that knows a lot about filming and editing, so I can always ask him questions.
Who's that?
You.
Not me. Oh.
Yeah, so
Was that a joke?
We've been playing it live. It's been fun. I've been learning a lot from Johnny. It's been a good experience.
Well, you're doing dang good, Pete, I will have to say. I don't want to blow your head up too much, but if anyone that's watching or listening should go over to Johnny. It's finally started his YouTube channel here. I don't think you've been on since you'd started it, but the Johnny Stewart on YouTube. He's got some hunts up there, and especially this last one from North Dakota. Pete filmed, edited from start to finish there, and in a short amount of time, and did a pretty dang good job with it.
Yeah,
came out good.
Yeah, I'm just playing as I go. The one thing, I love to hunt. That's why I did this, to kind of. I've always been listening to the podcast, listening to your content, and got the opportunity, and I jumped on it, and it's been a blast. But I've been getting a little itchy because I like to hunt too. I'm not sure.
Well, you shot a buck. You shot a big buck.
$2.
$2.
Shot one in Kansas.
Yeah, you got $2.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you want?
That was good. That Kansas trip was good. He gave me 4 days. I had an Airbnb.
I gave him 5 days.
Booked for 14. I only got 4.
He tagged that because he tagged out.
No, it was. It's been a blast. It's been a blast.
Yeah, that's good. And I want to say here too, if anybody out there is like Pete and they're a go-getter, willing to learn, wanting to work hard, I'm looking for somebody. So, but
well, I might just leave Johnny come film you.
No, I can't do that.
No, I'm kidding.
I can't. Let's talk after, Pete. We joked. It's funny. Pete and Johnny have an interesting relationship where I love it that Pete gives it right back to Johnny and just pounds him on anything, and they go back and forth and they bicker like they're married, and it's hilarious to watch. And it's been hilarious to be able to see that. I think you guys make a good pair.
Yeah.
Good couple, I'll say.
Yeah.
He's just getting a little old. I'm like the young his young partner.
And when we were in Ohio, we had a big deer come right up to the tree late October. I had rattled before I got up the tree, and the buck was on the other hill before light. He heard it. So he got down in a drain like downwind of us, and I can't hear real good. And Pete's like, there's a deer behind us. And I'm dropping my milkweed. I'm like, it can't be. I mean, our wind's going right down there. My floaters are going down there. I'm telling you, it's a deer. It's probably a squirrel. You know, and the whole time you hear like a deer walking, and I'm like, I barely hear one. Like, I'm like, so he's like, and that's when he learned to be like, not listen to me. Like, I need your help. Like,
Yeah.
use your knowledge, you know?
Yeah.
So the buck pops his head up out of that drainage and looked right at the base of the tree, 30 yards, 140-inch 10. Like, Pete, there's a deer looking at us. And he wasn't even turned around with the camera because he listened to me and said, it's, you know, like.
I'm thinking, all right,
So
whatever.
the deer walks right to the tree, 15 yards. I don't have a bow. He ain't even looking. We would have smoked him. And then, like, after the fact, I was like, hey, next time say, hey, you dumb, deaf MF, grab your bow and turn around. There's a deer coming up on us. But he was just thought, like, oh, Johnny Stewart, man, he said there was nothing down there. There must be nothing down there. But in his head, like,
He knew.
it was a deer there.
I heard him at first when he was on the opposite side, and then he got down the bottom, and you can't hear him too good. And then I heard him, like, coming up, and so I said a second time, I'm like, Johnny, that's a deer. And we just...
It wasn't like that. It was like, it's a deer. I think there's a deer. It wasn't real convincing.
And then we're
So
just
Pete's
looking at
fault.
each other. It was, yeah.
Yeah, because I brought him along. I said, I need your eyes and your ears. Like,
And then we got bamboozled by the big buck. He pops up.
he's right
caught.
there. We should have smoked him.
We're just... That was early on in our relationship, but
Yeah.
now that was when we were still kind of feeling things out.
I said, you should just slap me and said, hey, turn around.
But I've done that recently when we're in the snow, and Johnny's quick. Even when he's slow, he's quick. He doesn't have a slow gear.
Well, we
He
ain't
gets
onto
it.
the deer.
I'll
Yeah.
be like, Johnny, deer.
Yeah, he got good eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
he got
Oh.
youth on his side.
Yeah, that's true. Father Time's unbeaten. And you're getting there, Johnny. No, I'm learning a lot from
I think you got,
him. He's
don't you
a lot
got
of
something to
experience.
do. I think
Laundry?
you can put the laundry in there.
Yeah, I have
You
to
better
turn the
go.
laundry quick. That's the maid aspect of the job.
No, I'm washing clothes, cooking, cleaning. He goes to bed at 6:30.
Ooh, that's just
6:30.
that's not
6,
the
7
truth.
o'clock. He won't even have a beer with me half the time.
He's driving me to drink though. I haven't been lately.
Yeah. Hey, you know, there's sometimes you need that out to escape reality, and your reality is interesting right now, Pete.
Oh yeah.
You know, you either drink for enjoyment and celebration, or to drink away your sorrows and escaping reality. One of them is healthy, arguably, and the other one is not. But hey, it is what it is.
Yes, it is.
But so going back, I just wanted to mention that because I realized I didn't introduce you there at the beginning, Pete. But to go back to gun season here, so you were talking about feeding and everything, and this week here is or I guess in general is your gun hunting. If you want to just reference this week just to be specific, that's fine. But were you doing any sitting, or were you doing mostly like still hunting or tracking?
Yeah, still hunting and tracking. The first day was good with the wind. But the first area we went to was where I thought we found sheds off a big buck. We just kind of probed in there a little bit, didn't get into the, like, meat and potatoes are there. We just kind of stayed high, and it was crunchy. We knew we couldn't get in there. And then it was like we run into some guys and guys shooting and this and that. I went to another area that was kind of, I figured we wouldn't see anybody, so we could do our still hunting and moving without really bumping any deer. And that's when we run into that buck when we were taking lunch. And we just kind of, the wind got to a good speed because the ground was frozen under the snow, and only an inch and a half isn't enough to really cover your sound. So you need that wind. You're getting the hemlocks. There's not much snow. It's just so then we were also, and I was going to areas that I could see 150, 200 yards. I wasn't going to the areas that was 100 and less. Like I need to get, and just being in the woods enough, I'm just kind of thinking, okay, I need an area that I could see 100 to 200 yards because the wind's not high enough and we can't sneak. So I was just, leeward side, going when no one's at. And so we run into a couple deer there at lunch, and then we kind of went around the point and into the next drain, and same thing, see 150, 200 yards, and we caught movement up on a hillside, and it was a nice buck feeding on ferns, and a smaller one, and we were probably, 200 yards, and I started looking at it with the binoculars. I said, man, he's a wide buck. Doesn't have a lot of points. So we snuck down a little bit further down the hill so we can see up on the other hillside. And the wind was just enough, probably about 10, 12 mile an hour. We were able to, with that crunchy snow and 200 yards, get a little closer. I mean, if the crunch travels further than you could see, then you're not in the game.
Yeah.
That's like one thing I kind of think about. So I looked at him again. I said, I don't know, Pete. I don't think I want to shoot him. You want to shoot him? I said, he's a good deer. And he looks through the binoculars. He's like, I don't know, John. Are you sure you want me to shoot him? He's a little bigger than you think. I think he's bigger than you think, he said.
Yeah.
I said, and then by then he already had the gun. He wouldn't give it back.
Yeah.
Is that true?
So I've been conditioning Johnny all year. Every time we see a buck.
Oh, everything we see is a big buck.
Yeah. Everything I see, first thing, my first reaction when I see a buck, it's big.
Yeah.
And then several seconds later, the truth of the situation comes out, and sometimes I don't tell Johnny just because I want to see some action.
Yeah.
But
Gig buck feared up.
I've been conditioning him all year so that when it was a big buck, he wouldn't believe me, so he'd let me shoot. But like going back to when he handed me the rifle, like I wasn't anticipating shooting a buck when I came up here, because I didn't think I'd want to shoot a deer that he didn't want to shoot, and like that's just I was expecting him to want me to shoot like some smaller 2-year-olds or something, and
why would
not that no he's a good guy.
You shoot what makes you happy. That's what I said.
Absolutely.
That's why I asked you.
Absolutely.
I said, is that something you want to shoot, or are you going to keep walking?
And when I saw him through the binos, I'm like, he's pretty big, Johnny. And and then we're switching, and I'm like, I'll shoot him, but I'll shoot him. And he gives me the gun, and I give him the camera.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I do? I just hit the button. There's 19 buttons on it. Just hit the button. And he's already, I'm like, hold up, wait. He's already barreling down on this sucker.
Yeah.
We had all the time in the world too, but we
had
start getting worked up.
I mean, that's what it's all about. We probably could have set our pack down. We could have, and at one time this year I said, you're going to have to tell me how to run this thing in case the time comes, not when we're ready to shoot. And here, I'm going to show you how to run it, give you a quick tutorial on how to run the camera.
Yeah,
hit the button. I'm like,
we never got that far. So then I have the gun. Johnny has the camera. He can't get it in focus. So
he didn't show me how. I didn't know how to focus.
Then I have both.
Nothing.
And I'm zooming in, trying to get it in focus, and I just hand it back to him. I'm like, all right, just point it in the deer's direction, and I think we'll be good. And even at that moment, I'm looking at him through the scope, and I'm looking back, I'm like, Johnny, I don't know. Are you sure, man? Because it was like when you're doing this style of hunting, like it's hard to get great footage when you're still hunting and tracking in the snow. And I would have been able to we could have took our time, got really good footage, and I thought it was a pretty good buck. And he's like, go ahead. He didn't believe me because I've been conditioning him, like I said.
I saw it with my own eyes.
And,
I said, the Johnny Stewart's not going to shoot that.
and then
He was a good deer.
and then it came together, and he gave me a shot, and I shot, and fired in a follow-up shot that was a better shot, more lethal, and it all worked out. And I said to Johnny, I'm like, man, I think he's a little bit bigger. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope I don't get fired when he sees him.
Well, I do feel I do feel bad that I know how much he likes to hunt. He's like us, and he's got to go watch it. It's like watching TV, you know. Like I don't get to do it, you know. I'm like, and I told him, bring your gun, you know. Like if I shoot, or like even we're in another state, if we had time, go get a license, just go shoot. So I was like, man, if you want to shoot, like shoot that sucker.
But it all worked out. It was a good opener. So that was day one.
Yeah, but you're skipping over some stuff there. That buck is awesome. Like I would have shot that buck.
Yeah.
All day.
That's what I was thinking. I think I could see when we came up on it, Johnny's like, ooh,
It's an older
pretty
deer
nice.
too. Like I mean, that was a mature buck.
Yeah.
He had goofy rack on him. Nothing was straight. Like everything was lopsided, but wide, big 7-point.
Yeah.
Tall. He had a frame of a giant, but probably with he is thin, he's wide, he's tall, but
He's really not that thin. He got good bases.
Yeah.
But just he's so wide, I think he looks thin.
Yeah.
Like
But he was rutted out pretty good, and I think that's why he had to feed, because you had got a video from somebody that his neck was all thick and swelled up, and we actually end up getting him on another camera that when we put this video out on YouTube, I put it over a bed, and he used it a few times, that bed. He laid there.
That trail
pretty
cam
wild.
video is awesome.
Yeah.
In daylight, you can see him bedding down, getting up.
I think Pete said he laid there 7 hours. We'll have to look at the time.
Really?
yeah, he was there quite a
The
bit.
25th of November, wasn't it?
The 20th.
20th or something.
No,
He laid there
25th, 5 days. before the season.
7 hours he laid in that bed.
Really?
Yeah, it was fascinating.
That is so cool to see. And you were showing me that video footage last night, watching him bedded there. What was the bed like? Where was the bed located at?
Oh, so there was 2 drains that come down this hillside, just little drains where it just like 10 feet down and up, and created like a little ridge up and down this hill. A few spotty hemlocks, some beach brush, a good place for a buck to lay. And there was an actual bed there that I found. We were actually hunting that area. I think we missed a bigger buck living, because we found some significant rubs right around there. We think like the bigger buck moved out in around the rut, end October, somewhere in there, and this guy moved in, and we hunted there like the first week of November, and we didn't see much. I think we were a day late, dollar short. I think with the warm weather in through October, there was 2 springs there, a couple younger hemlocks. Like I think it was a spot that a bigger deer was living, and he probably moved out. But so I put a camera there when we left here to go to North Dakota to just see what was, and we got him living in there. We had 2 cameras, and he was on both of them. So that was
Nice.
It was pretty wild. That was
cool.
And
then I had, like I said, that guy on Facebook sent me a message, and he's like, this kind of looks like a similar deer. I was like, well, you can't mistake that one.
Yeah.
It was very recognizable, and sent some cool photos of him hitting a scrape. And when he was like full rut, I mean, just big neck, big body on him. And it was super cool to see. And it was awesome to see. I will say I didn't expect at camp. So we had incredible first day at camp.
Yeah.
My Uncle Francie had shot like a 9 or 10-year-old
Yeah.
buck, super heavy. My Uncle Al shot a big one. The one side was broken off, but big deer. And then Pete showing up, and Johnny with the one in the back of the Subaru. And then my good buddy Michael, that he had shot an awesome buck too. And just like, we had 4 big bucks at camp like there, and it was just such a good time, a good night. I'm like, man, this is what I look forward to with gun season and getting everybody together, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, when it comes together like that, it's awesome. A camp atmosphere like that.
It's like you don't want it to end. I said that before, like, because it's such a small window, your whole year. everybody getting together, talking deer, sharing stories, hanging out, and it's awesome.
I know. It was seriously. That was one of the best days of the season, other than when I shot mine, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And
The Beau show.
and everybody and all the county should. Here we go. I'm just joking. No, it seriously was such a good time. Just getting to hang out and tell stories and hearing things, and the guys that still had tags in their pocket, giving them some hope. Like my dad at that time, which he ended up shooting one the next day.
Yeah.
So it worked out, but it was such a good time there. But then it was like Johnny's like, all right, time to get rolling, time to get on another one. See, Johnny made this strategically, Pete. He didn't want a season to be ending yet because we had the snow. He loved hunting in the snow, and so he acted like he was doing you a favor, but in reality, he was doing himself.
Yeah, he was looking forward to this bigger blizzard we had coming in, and the next several days out, it was like great snow, great like temperatures, but the conditions were hard for tracking and still hunting.
Lower elevation, the snow was wet, and it was when you put your foot down, it just that wet snow compressed and made a noise, and it was dead calm.
It's almost like I don't want to say a squeak, but like kind of like a
crunch,
like not like
crunch.
A hard crunch, like
a
break
dull
layer.
crunch, and like the big flat foot coming down, like a deer could hear that a mile away. Like higher elevations were good, it was drier, 300 foot up, but lower, and the bucks we found were lower. And that day, I think it was at Sunday, Monday, that it was like a heavy moisture in the air day, and the bucks deer didn't move. The couple beds we got to, they were bedded all day. And I tried putting my foot down like through the snow, and I go I go like this, kind of push down so it don't make that crunch. Or I try to slide. I slide it but really, man, you crunch one or two times, and off in the distance they'll hear you. But we end up going north. They had more snow, about 40 minutes north of camp, and I think that was Monday, Tuesday in there. I think it was Tuesday. And we just picked a place on a map and had powder, and we went up, parked at the bottom, went up hillside, and we were walking, wind's blowing up the hill, and we got to a little elevation, like a transition, and there was literally a buck standing and rubbing a tree in the 5 inches of snow, and he's rubbing like this, and he smelled us. We actually I just kind of picked a spot, kind of the point comes down, and just kind of around the point, a little ways up, like 3/4 of the way up, kind of feel like that's where a deer would be, not on the top, but down, and that's where he was there rubbing a tree when he come up the hill. So he ran back along the hillside, and so the wind's blowing up the hill, so we got to where he was rubbing a tree, and we seen his tracks take off. I said, I bet he's going to go up high and come back across, because he's wanting to go that way, and it looked thick to the right. So we kind of went like this. We went out toward the point and up, and it was to the point where we couldn't see more than 80 yards. It was thick in there, and he caught us again, and then he run across the flat. And by then, he was like watching his back trail hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
And so he went, and then he did a J-hook. He went on his flat, and he J-hooked back just a little elevation change like this, probably maybe 10 feet. So he went, and he come back on that lower bench, and he laid down, and we could see, watch his back trail. We didn't have a prayer.
Yeah, he saw you bimbos coming through
That's
the
what I
way.
said. And it was then when we bumped him there, he went 700-800 yards down to I say he's probably going to make a circle. He went down to the original drain, and there was good visibility in that drain. And
did you get that buck on film?
no, we never seen him.
No,
He picked up another big deer, another big buck and a smaller buck going down through these blowdowns.
I was going to say, I heard that, this is just what I heard through the grapevine, that buck, he's like, I kind of want to be famous on YouTube. I don't want to get shot, but I heard that these guys are filming for YouTube, so maybe I'll show myself real quick, rubbing this tree, looking like a badass, and I'll take off.
Just seeing that sign when we walked up into
that was
a brand new area.
That was wild. It's like, look, there's a buck and we just picked it like this is like.
Just got on Spartan Forge on the map, and so you'd mentioned earlier, like you were looking for leeward ridges, 3/4 of the way up, kind of some big drains, some different elevation, stuff like that. What is that kind of what you looked for on the map? Or
yeah, and I think the tops were accessible as far as roads and stuff.
So then you knew they'd be on the side hills.
Yeah, and like. We've hunted West Virginia this year in areas that we go up 800 feet.
Yeah,
and it's good to do that because you go 300-400 feet. It's like it's all relative to where you are. You know, you're in an area that has, like, you go to Iowa and it has 200 foot, or Illinois. People are like, oh man, I ain't going up in it. Like locals, I'm not going up in them hills. We're like, what, or like not going in there. All that, but then like West Virginia, a lot of elevations, maybe 1,500 feet. So if you're doing 300-400 foot elevate, like here, and then we come here, it's like Pete and I will go up and down. I'm like, we don't like,
not that big.
It's not bad. We don't care. So we got to an area where I feel like it was a longer drain, as far as the other drain was probably a 1.5 mile long drain, and we parked at the bottom and went up there and caught him. And like I said, he did that circle and dropped down in that drain into some blowdowns, and he grabbed another big deer. So there was 2 bucks. And another, I think it was 3 bucks, 2 good ones and a smaller one. And we were probably 15 minutes behind them, and they were moseying, maybe feeding. And I told Pete, like, they're here. They went under a tree top, like, and I think in a line, them 3 bucks. And I think maybe one's antler broke a limb or something, and the wind's blowing. And as soon as they got under that tree top, they ran like this. So we it was getting late in the day. Didn't have a lot of time to decipher where they went and stuff like that, so we just hiked down a drain and followed the one track, and we seen a couple of does and that. But I just wanted to, man, I haven't tracked a deer. I just like to get that going on, just following them and seeing when they're digging in the snow, and the one hit the scrape. But so that was like our second, third day, and then we come back here to closer to our camp and tried hunting. There still wasn't the snow they were calling for. We had gone out in the morning and found a big track in an area. I think it's a deer, the Big 8. Everybody hear about the Big 8?
Yeah. If you listen to the podcast long enough, you know about the Big 8. He's pushing 30 years old now.
Yeah, he's probably right in there.
He's an old bug. And he's
gets
actually
around. We caught him in Ohio. Northern PA, he kind of really gets around the Big 8, but
he's kind of like a gypsy soul.
That's why he's hard to kill.
Yeah, hard to pattern.
But we found his tracks, but he was near some roads. I think middle of the night, and they walk up them roads. I said they'll walk way up a road and then jump off. So we didn't have any luck there, and we went up the hollow to where I thought he would maybe end up in the daytime. And Pete and I went in there and got on like a north slope, kind of looking down in that hollow, and we caught some does. We knew the storm was coming, so the deer were up feeding. And we were hearing gunshots 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. We see deer moving, but like I said, the day or two before that heavy, I think it was the day before that heavy moisture, deer were there was no tracks. There was like a light snow that fell. We couldn't even really. It's weird how they all just react to the temperature and stuff like that. But we caught a few does kind of feeding down below, so it was probably 150, 200 yards. And we kind of got a little closer, and we were just kind of standing by a tree. And these does, the one snorted off in the distance, and so they were on a little bit of alert, and then these does come right up within 30. It took them like half hour, 20 minutes. But they worked their way up toward us, and we're just standing by this tree, and they're kind of looking at us, but we didn't move. I just had my gun kind of ready. And then Pete looks, he said, there's a buck down there coming. And so these does are in with 30 yards, give or take. And this buck works up to about 100, 110 yards, And, Pete, big buck. I don't think he said it.
was,
He said it was. He dumbed it. He's like, nah, I don't think it's that big. But so I'm like, I can't see with my eyes at 110. Darker body.
You still have your driver's license?
we're thinking about revoking that, so
Yeah.
pulling it away.
Okay.
And he's going to drive me around.
Add Uber to the resume.
So I'm like, we're filming. It'd be cool to get a kill. We got these does. It'd be a nice
Yeah.
little bit of footage to kill a deer. And so I hit the safety, and I'm pulling up, and these does here, like, they heard me. It was dead calm. They took off. So I pulled up offhand, and I seen a 10-point. I'm like, heck, I'm going to shoot. Boom. He didn't move a muscle, Tried getting another shell, and then he took off. But once we come back and looked at the film, I think he was like a young deer with great genetics.
Yeah.
G4s, nice brows, 10. I'm like, kind of, either way, like I say, don't cry. It is whatever happens. I'm glad we had a blast. That was fun.
Yeah.
That's what you hunt for, to have some action, and whether you shoot or whatever. So then the snow fell. That night I woke up at 4 a.m., had 4 inches on the ground, and this was yesterday, the 5th, December, and I drove around to try to catch a track, but with the blizzard-like conditions, I couldn't really. It's just what I like doing. I was out like 2 hours driving.
Did Pete go with you?
No, he gets his beauty sleep, man. He don't get up at 4 in the morning.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
That kind of sucks.
goes to bed at 6. Up
He
at
doesn't.
4,
He
up at
didn't
6.
offer.
12 hours. Trust me, he wasn't going.
Oh, I would have went.
If he was, I didn't need that. He needed that beauty. He said, I need my rest. I got to be on my A game, right?
No, that's been the motto.
I'm gonna revoke something I said earlier where I was like, hey, if you got anybody that's like Pete, so apply to work with me. Well, maybe if you're like Pete plus you have ambition.
Oh, that hurt. That cut
He
deep.
just twisted the knife. Boy.
That cut deep.
I'm just
That was
kidding,
it.
Pete.
I think he's serial.
No, Johnny just gets upset because we'll get back at 6 o'clock at night, and he wants me to hang out, like watch a movie with him, drink a couple beers, and I'm thinking,
It's hunting season.
I got
Maya Johnson.
to be on my A game tomorrow. So I'm like, I'm gonna get some rest, or else how am I gonna film this big buck you're about to see if I'm all sleep deprived?
I just say I understand because they don't make them like they used to. I mean, you get back, you drink to 8 or 9, hang out with your buddies, get up at 4, do it again every day.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do it for 60 days, I'd probably start to wear on you.
Whoa, ain't no 60 days.
When you get to Johnny's age, like when you hit that next age class, like I mean, you know it, Beau. Like your dad, old men, they don't sleep much.
Are you calling my dad old?
Well,
Wow.
old men, they don't.
He's
They don't sleep much when they get that.
He's
They
digging
just
a
need
hole,
4
isn't he?
hours.
Wow.
he just keeps digging. He's got that spade shovel, and he just keeps putting weight on it, and it just keeps digging.
He ain't gonna be able to get out of this one.
No.
But I come back.
So
made
when
him
you
breakfast,
when you come to camp tomorrow night, Johnny, maybe leave your buddy behind.
yeah. Well, he's gonna need to sleep. So
Yeah, he won't come anyways.
yeah,
This
So,
is-
so yesterday I got out at 5, drove around for 2 hours, got back here at 7. No
Cook-
movement in camp.
he cooked breakfast. First
Cooked
time.
breakfast.
First time he cooked in 4 days.
Packed
He's
lunch.
leaving that out.
Packed your lunch.
First time he cooked in 4 days. Is that
Anyways.
is that wrong?
No, you're right. You've cooked spaghetti. It was tough. He made some tough meals.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got him up. We ate. I said, I knew of an area that we caught an area that deer would feed in the winter, and I said, let's go. We're not going way back off the road. We got a blizzard. I don't want to be maybe getting my vehicle stuck or somewhere. So it was an area fairly close to the road, and it's kind of a flat, and it drops down in a gradual area where I catch them feeding on ferns in the winter, and they just congregate does, bucks, and stuff like that. So we were on the flat, and it was kind of a south wind that was blowing down over that the top. It was probably 100-foot elevation. It kind of dropped like a little bit of a bluff, but gradual. And then it was more gradual down below. So I said, they're probably fed down there last night and this and that. I said, maybe we'll bump one or something. And actually, the one area has some pines in it. And it was pretty wild. Is last year, I was on that flat and I walked down the steeper part through the pines to try to push a deer out of there because it's just with the thermal cover and out of the wind to my buddy. And there was a big deer bedded behind a blowdown. There was an inch of snow, and he run out along the hillside, the steeper hillside, right? I didn't get a look at him. I just seen his tracks and that. So we pushed it again the next day. It was near the end of gun season last year, and he was in the same bed. And we had 3 guys and 2 posts, 3 drivers and 2 posters. So we kind of started spread out, pushing us flat, but we all kind of converged to that bed on that steeper slope in those pines, those hemlocks. And we were kind of doing like you guys do, just kind of keeping track of where everybody was. So we went across this big flat and hooting and hollering for 20 minutes. And so we got to where the 3 drivers were within 100 yards of each other. We could see each other. That buck was in that bed. The snow was melted now. He just got up and he just trotted out to the side. So he knew, he was old enough to know these guys aren't the danger. It's the guys out, waiting for me. So he went out to the side, and I had a poster over there. But the deer just went out and went back up the hill right behind us. He didn't go out to my poster where he did the day before. He ran all along that hill. So anyways, that was the last day of gun season last year. So I put that in my memory bank. I said, well, next year at some point, I don't know, maybe first week, but getting into, winter, later into gun season, I said, I got to check for that deer to be in there. So basically, we were acting like the drivers, just kind of walking, heading down into them hemlocks. And I showed Pete, I said, he was bedded right here last year.
You ran a trail camera in there this year, too.
Yeah,
early
October, and we had a buck in that bed, but it was similar to that, but he had a little crab claw at the end. But we had gone down, there's his bed, I said, and we had blizzard-like conditions, it's going sideways. We had an out forward of going on to 5-6 inches. I said, let's get further down the hill, and then we'll just walk to the west and kind of look, maybe bump something and kind of look up that bluff. Visibility was getting poor because of the snow and that, but in general, you could see maybe 120 yards in that area. So we had got down lower on a more gradual area, and we started hiking west. And he just took his GoPro, and we were just doing maybe a
quick loop,
2-hour deal, little hunt, get back to the vehicle, and make a plan for the rest of the day, maybe bump something. And it was so cool. This buck was bedded just behind a treetop, right? And what was weird, usually they'll bed with the cover, maybe a rock or a treetop or a blowdown or what, and that's behind them, and they're looking downwind, right?
Yeah.
Well, this deer was like totally opposite. There was the blowdown here, and he was like between the blowdown and the upwind side. It was kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Wait, and was he bedded like? I don't know if you could tell from the bed, but that was he facing the blowdown?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wonder if he's just. But you'd think though that he'd be on the other side to keep that wind from pounding him in the snow.
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
I would have thought the blowdown was here, and the wind's coming this way, and he was watching downwind. Like the blowdown was on the side where he really couldn't see the downwind side. It was weird.
Yeah,
I would expect it to be opposite. But I think he fed, and I think with that blizzard, I think he laid down, and he was covered in snow, and he knew he was camouflaged. I think he just laid down wherever he stopped feeding, near that blowdown, just a little bit of security cover right there, and he just erupted 15 yards away from us, like he was covered in snow. I never even seen him, It was so cool, and I'm just
an explosion of
snow. He
snow.
Jumped up, and he ran kind of away from us, and then he hooked out to where he was straight out at 50 yards. And Pete's not ready with the GoPro. He had his back pocket, I don't know why. It was kind of not accessible.
That's not true.
Anyways, the deer, it happened. And I pulled up and I was on like 6 power on my scope, and I tried finding an opening, getting on him, but he kind of went out to about 30 yards, and he just stayed at like, I couldn't get him in the scope real good. I was trying to find an opening, and he gets out there, and he stops and looks back, and I'm like, and he was out to about 50 yards. Visibility was getting low, and I couldn't see his whole body as rack, and I just seen his brown, like his front 2/3 of his body, maybe a little less, and I just pulled up, and my gun misfired 50 yards. Click. I was like, oh man. So I'm looking at him, and I go to rack another shell, because I don't want to lose him. It wasn't like if you stood there and say, hey, do you see a deer? You would have been like, no, I don't visit. Where? I just see trees vertically out there, and he kind of blended in with the trees. So I was kind of watching, and I tried getting another shell in there. My gun was jamming. And Pete's like, oh.
I'm seeing this happen. I'm like, oh, there goes the big buck.
Yeah.
Like, and it took like this whole process before he ended up firing us 12 seconds. And like, it felt like 12 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So then I had to look down to actually take my eyes off the deer to get that bullet, a new round in. And then when I come back up, and I'm pretty sure where he was, but I just see brown at 50 yards, 50 or so. Visibility was poor. And I pull up, and my scope's a little, maybe a little bit of moisture in it or whatever, and it was hard to see. I'm like, am I really looking at a deer, or am I just going to shoot at a brown tree? Like, and, you got, like, is he still standing there? Because once I took my eyes off him, maybe he ran, and I'm like, and I honestly didn't know, and I really had to look. Like, I'm not just going to... boom, and here I'm shooting at a tree. I want to be, it's normal. Be aware of your target. Know that you're, that's like 101. Like, so, and I start looking, and I see just a black nose with the white muzzle, and I look down, and I see the white throat patch, and I'm like 98% sure that's him still standing there. So, and I just drop down and over to the left a little bit, kind of shoulder, chest. Soon as I shot, he just hunched up, and he ran, and we're like fist bumping, like, so this whole thing happened like in 12 seconds. It was sick, man.
I'll let Pete narrate in a second, but I want to give you from watching the footage, which it'll be on YouTube here probably tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I have probably about 12 hours to edit, given Johnny's time frame.
I don't know when do you think when do you have a plan on when it's going to be up?
Well, I think like we have some really cool footage. Yeah. I think you could really spend some time and do it and put it out, a week before rifle season next year. But Johnny's different. Johnny's different. I think we're going to try and put it out probably in the next 10 days.
We're going to try and put it out. We're going to put it out next week.
Okay. So as people, as you're listening to this week or so is coming out, and if not, just subscribe to his YouTube channel and click on the bell for the notification so you know when it comes out. But anyways, when I'm watching the footage, Johnny has a pretty interesting stance when he's shooting there. I mean, he was like in a tactical, like he was clearing a room position. After he cleared that shell, he's crouched down, he's looking there, and he shoots a right-handed rifle, left-handed. So he's down and he's in that position, and he shoots. And it's kind of like what my weird style that I've started doing with a bow. I shoot animals now. And I subconsciously give a fist bump, even if I don't know if it's a good shot. But I'm like, but anyways, Johnny just turns around. He's like, gives a high five to Pete. He's like, 10 point, 145 inches there.
Yeah. When he jumped up, I was like, I said, I swear I saw, I guess, buck feet, you see what you want to see.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I swore I seen a 10 point, like 145, 150 inch. And I'm like, holy, but. He wasn't, not that he wasn't a great.
No, I mean, he was that
8.
size frame. He was just an 8 point.
Yeah, so, but at the shot, both of us, he just went hunched up and he did this. Like, I'm like, we knew that there was no mistaking that he was dead. And so you go from 0 to here, like, that's what's so great. You don't know when it's going to happen. Like I told him earlier in the week, I said, we're going to kill a deer. I could feel it. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you can be in a pretty low and just hiking and not seeing much, and the conditions aren't right, not, put miles on, and 1-2 days go by, and then blizzard conditions, and it wasn't the greatest for tracking, and they probably were bedded a lot of the deer because of the blizzard storm. So I'm thinking, like, we can't get into roads that we can previously get in because of the snow. It's going to be tough. And it's not that you're down, it's just like you got some odds against you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this happens, which as soon as I jump them, I was like, okay, we got a deer to follow. Like that was when I saw them take off, all right, we got a deer that we can hunt, and we got the right conditions. It's powder, wind, trees cracking. I said, I'd let him go for an hour maybe, as long as we don't lose his tracks and let him forget about us. So we could have, but then, yeah, it was like, you're just like, and it was like sick, man, for him to we're tagged out just like that, and we never thought that would happen. We were just on cloud nine, and then let's call Beau. So yeah.
Well, and then so Pete calls me, and this is a new thing that I've started to learn. Johnny doesn't call me anymore. Pete calls me on Johnny's behalf.
Yeah,
and
I'm his messenger.
This is all like,
secretary.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so all the time, whenever, or like the night before, Pete texts me, Johnny wants to know if you'd like to come over and have a couple drinks. I'm like, I just started laughing.
I'm probably doing dishes or cleaning up after him.
Yeah, I understand.
Like my son.
But he calls me, and, obviously, at that point, I'm getting my beauty sleep.
Yeah.
Who can blame you?
No, actually, I was sitting in front of my computer, and, like, Pete's calling me. I was like, oh, there's only one reason this has happened. And then I watched the footage, and you guys filmed you guys calling me, and it rang a few times. And you're like, oh, he's sleeping.
It's like, he's been hiking while he's probably sleeping.
Yeah, and I answer it, and you told me the whole story. I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so awesome and crazy to be able to, like, and it's crazy though, like something like that happens, and it's like the culmination of all this work been putting in the past year's knowledge of deer in that area in gun season. And one thing that you mentioned before the podcast, Johnny, is that you use the journal feature in Spartan Forge a lot. You write down every day, like what's going on. It automatically logs your date, your time, the weather, all that stuff that's in there. So you can refer back to that and remember it, because you hunt a lot. You hunt a lot more than the average guy does. And it can be easy to forget some of that stuff. Not saying you do, but it helps to have that in there to refer back to.
And so I think about the hunt, and I always think and ask myself questions, but when that deer ran slowly, it's not like he bolted. I feel like this is the same deer last year that was only 200-300 yards away in them hemlocks. I said, I think he learned that moving fast, running, gets him killed or gets him into a situation that he don't want to be in. So him just, in gun season, like how we bumped him, he heard us coming, and he just kind of, like, he did the same thing, and he didn't want to go too far because he can get into an area that could be dangerous. And so I'm pretty sure it was the same deer. And then once I got him back to the camp here, I found his horn 300 yards or so, 400 from where all this took place 2 years previous on a muzzleloader hunt. And so, I'm pretty sure it was the same deer that was in there last year when we were gun hunting, and that's just what's happening.
Just the way that, that deer was acting, like, taught me a lot, because when you go into the scenario with the weather that we had, like, just the wind, the snow just pounding down. Like, we probably got 4 or 5 inches within the hour and a half that we drug him out and drove him home. And, like, you expect that deer to be where he was last year in those hemlocks, like, just kind of hunkered down, like, leeward wind, and we don't see anything in the hemlocks. And then we walk 200 yards out of them, like, same elevation that his bed was on. And he's just in the middle,
just getting pounded by
just in the middle of the woods. It makes you think like
he
these
probably
deer are just fascinating.
Just put his head. That's why, like, and the more I know, the more I don't know, and that's why it's good being with Pete, because I've seen everything.
Yeah,
like but you take someone that got some good knowledge about hunting and experience and seen, and they can say, yeah, this is. But But then if you put another 10, 12 years on them, yeah, I've seen them lay in the open woods. I've seen them, the wind was wrong and this and that. Said you go into a hunting situation, it's like anything can happen. So the more you learn as years go by, you've seen it all. You're like, he can be anywhere. You're not looking at like just a maybe 5-10 years experience. I've learned from people when you see this happen. Okay, I'm going to go with that because that's what you know and that's what you've seen. But once you see times that by 10, 12, then there are them instances when you see us fly or you see this happen. So then it's like you have, in your head thinking that he should be here, but then he went over here. Like we were tracking that one deer. I said it was in around well roads and this and that. And I'm like, and we went back far, and he don't want to be around us. But then we saw his tracks there. I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's just laying right here by some dumb place because you see it all, and then you kind of get cloudy vision of what happens with these deer, but you still take, I guess, the percentages like most of the time. So you
and that's exactly right. You don't. I hope no one takes from this like, oh, well, that just means deer can bed wherever. Well, yeah, they can, but like you still want to try to use those percentages or those odds in your favor. But it's just knowing that that's not always the situation, and then reading what the sign and what the situation is actually showing you and adapting to it. Like that's kind of how I look at it, at least. And it's just like, man, and obviously that buck felt safe there, and he almost did get away. He was pretty close to getting away, but
Johnny was trying to do everything in his power to let that buck get away.
Do you know what happened and why? I also have a suggestion for you, but first of all, do you know why why it didn't go off?
No, we saw it come out there like, you didn't even have a shell in there. I'm like, yes, I did have a shell.
Yeah, we ended up seeing the shell.
They didn't believe me. Like I told them it. It's just it's just a gun I had laying around here at camp. I don't even know. It's a 243. It's light. I don't even know what model it is, what make it is. I don't even know. So
it's never been lubricated. There's a decent amount of rust on the barrel.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't.
But it's light.
Hopefully he didn't show Kurt that. He would have been cringing.
Oh yeah,
it's a Johnny special. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
a lot of deer have been killed with rifles like that.
Yeah, but no. The other thing I was gonna say is, you walk around the woods with your scope on 6 power. It's your style hunt.
Yeah, it was probably a little high.
Yeah,
but here's another thing. Going into that area, it was an area that I could see 100 to 150 yards, but with the visibility being low, like actually coming down through them pines, we could see a good way.
Yeah, underneath the
yeah,
pines,
and I should have. But if we would go back in there with no snow on the trees, we could probably, where that deer was, I could probably see 100 to 150 yards. I should have cranked it down, but things happen for a reason, and I think even if it was on 3 power, it was hard to follow him. Because he was I was just trying to get an opening, at 30 yards. It's basically, you would be better off with open sights,
Yeah.
But you don't ever, I'm not no master tracker like guys of it. Like, how often do we get to track and shoot running deer? It's not.
Yeah. No,
there's guys
right.
who are really good at that and know the ins and outs about it.
But I will say, and not to just give a plug to Maven, but that scope I have is a 2 to 10. I run it on 2 power when I'm walking around a lot, because it's like when things pop up, it's easier to find it in that field of view than it is when you're on 5 or 6 or whatever power. I rarely have it turned up, other than if I'm sitting somewhere and I may put it on 4 or 5. But it's just because I know I'm not great at finding things when I'm at higher magnification, so it just makes it easier.
And I think
me.
I had it on 6 of them pines, and then I just was I think we were just in a mode of, let's try to let's find a track and bump something. I don't know. It was just, we didn't. That's the last thing we expected to happen.
I know, and that's
we always say it's going to happen when we're least expecting, and most of the time it does.
And I was like, each evening I'd be like, oh, Johnny, we took first day, we took 19,000 steps today, and then it's like, 22,000. Oh, that's new high today. It's 25,000. And then the day it happens, first 40 minutes, we probably took 900 steps. It just shows you how your luck can change on a dime like that if you stay persistent and
don't give up.
Keep after it. It's easy to throw in the towel.
That's exactly right. Like I'm definitely seeing it, and there's been like I say, even like through Instagram. So I try to read all the messages that come through. Sometimes I miss some, but there's some guys that were a little bit. One guy in specific that was frustrated with a post I'd made about
I think
time. We were talking about it last night, but about time and persistence I'd made about like going after these deer, and he was like, it's like, well, I don't have that kind of time or to be able to put in. Like, I'm just frustrated. I didn't mean to, be a dick essentially, but like I'm frustrated because you guys get all this time to go out and hunt, and I don't have that. And like, what can I do if I don't have a lot of time? And it's like, honestly, I don't really have a great answer for that other than to adjust your expectations and your goals. I don't know. You think, Pete, I mean, you up until this year, you hunt with Johnny, I mean, you probably didn't have a ton of time to get out there. Like, if you were to have a goal in Pennsylvania to shoot 140-inch deer, are there 140-inch deer? Hell yeah, there are. Mm-hmm. But are they really difficult to kill? Yeah, on a consistent basis. You can luck into anything, but like to do it year after year, it's like you got to have a lot of time. And even with that, it's difficult. And then you look at people like, say, Johnny, even yourself with filming here, like there's a lot of sacrifices that are made to create that time in other areas of life that maybe other people have and that you can't have to pursue this because you're serious about it and that's what you want out of it. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I think you're exactly right with everything that you're saying. Like, it all comes down to the amount of time that you put into it. And up until this year, like, I was, ham and egging it a little, like not necessarily, but I would, I was working 5 days a week. So you have the weekends and you have a short amount of time to make it happen, and you have to adjust your goals accordingly. And the number one thing that I've seen with being around all of you guys, like meeting different people throughout these past 3 months, it's all about the time you put into it. Like, you look at you guys and, you guys put in the time and your stuff and you've seen a lot of stuff, and the results come in with just with the amount of time you put in. And I also will say like I look at when I'm hunting with Johnny, it's like he has confidence, and it's not cockiness by any means, it's confidence. And when you have a confidence that like, oh, I think this buck's bedded over here, like, you don't know for sure if that buck is bedded over there, but that confidence that you have in yourself will keep you waking up at 4:00 every morning to keep going. Like, it keeps a drive.
100%. And that confidence is built through time. Time in the woods. And, even saying someone like Johnny, I know you said he's old, but he's not really that old in the grand scheme of things. But he's got more hunting experience than most people of 4 lifetimes because of the amount of time that he's put in, which builds those experiences, which builds that confidence up based on those experiences. And I just don't know how you can shortcut time. Yeah. I don't, there's not a tip, there's not a trick, there's not a hack that shortcuts time when it comes to when you have goals that are hard to reach with it. And I'd love to say that there's this, really great thing that I've come up with, but it's like none of us are any better than anybody else. But what we have, what we've made for ourselves, and I don't want to act like it's been luck that we've been able to put this time in. We've created, lives that we've been able to put this time in at sacrifices in other areas of our lives to be able to go in and spend that time and learn it to give us that confidence to be able to go. But even with that, even with knowledge and experience and confidence, there's some years it just takes a lot of damn time. Mm-hmm. Would you agree, Johnny?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Time and just being persistent, confidence breeds success. So it's going to happen. Like I said a couple times I just felt it early in the week. I said, like, after he shot his deer, I said, we're going to kill it. Like, I looked at him, I said, we're going to kill a deer. It's going to happen. Like, and I think it's experience and being in the woods that you get that feeling that, learning the woods and knowing the area and your experience, that you start feeling that way. And I know by no means I think I'm not the best hunter. Like, I know so many hunters are way better than, I'm not I know a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that helps me is knowing a lot. And that's why I always talk about know as much as you can. So if you're not the best hunter, you make mistakes, you know another spot to go, and you know this, so.
Yeah.
Can't cry over spilt milk. We heard that a lot early season. We'd get bamboozled by a big buck, and Johnny'd be like, "Oh, you can't cry over spilt milk." And I'm thinking, oh, I'm all down on myself. And he's taught me a lot just with his little phrase that he says almost annoyingly. But it keeps you with the motivation, keeps you going.
I've said it a million times, like and I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but around camp with everybody, I said, if I miss a buck or if I mess something up, I know Johnny's not going to be one that gives me sympathy because he's going to respond with, "Don't cry over spilled milk. You know what you're doing. Get back after it." And that's exactly what you need to hear in those situations, because there's also the thing about time that I want to bring up. Like, I've seen it a lot in Western hunts, and I also see it in people in PA and other places that go and rut hunts. Okay, say they have 7 days. You got vacation off work to go. Hunt 7 days straight, all day, getting up early. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It's hard. And to keep your motivation high and have the discipline to keep doing it over and over again. I mean, I fight those demons in myself all the time of like, oh, it's not going well. Like, is it really going to be any better today? Like, but then you refer back to those moments of like what you guys had happen yesterday, and those moments where things happen out of nowhere. And I just keep reminding myself, it's like, okay, things can happen at any time. Like,
yes,
that's what, this year on my elk hunt in Montana, it was like last day, I got people screwing things up on me, and I'm just like, I was down, but I was just like, can't let this get in your head. You got to go till the bell rings, and that's and then it ended up working out in a fluke situation. It's just like, if I would have given up or been like, I gave it my all. I tried pretty hard, and I'm going to go home and tell all the guys that, the weather wasn't good, too much hunting pressure, rut was extinct this year. There's no rut. You can create these things in your head, these excuses, but I feel like the people that are the most successful in it, and people like you, Johnny, that I see that hunt for, and when I, looking at it's like, yeah, are you lucky or are you not lucky? Are you, should you be grateful to have all that time? Hell yeah. Like, that's awesome. People would kill for that. But I don't know if everybody would give the effort in for that amount of time as you do to be able to be successful and what is needed to be successful on certain years.
Yeah, it's definitely just not giving up. And sometimes I sit in a tree and I say to myself, the longer we sit here and don't see a deer or don't kill a deer brings us closer to the time that we will see or kill that deer. Like, that's it. Like, we just got to keep grinding it out, keep working,
I thought, what's funny is that I remember you telling me that years ago, and for some reason I felt like I came up with that on my own. Like, yeah. I've said that, and I'm like, man, like, I'm pretty smart, but I think I got it from you.
Yeah, which is the truth. And like I said, just, I don't know, we're passionate about.
Yeah,
and like our hunt in North Dakota happened like that. And it's like I said, it happens when you're least expecting it. Just keep at it. Maybe, and I feel like I'm good for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And maybe sleep in one day or do something just to recharge your batteries, or just go out for an afternoon hunt or do some scouting. And we've done it here. I said, let's just sleep in, because the hunting's going to be good. I'm not going to burn out, but just be persistent. Keep at it.
Or if you got to work, say you only have 2 days in the week to be able to hunt. It's like, okay, anytime that you can when you're not able to hunt. I know there's work obligations, there's family obligations, a bunch of things, but you want to be successful. Put in that other work of maybe looking at maps more, creating plans, or creating contingencies that if there are people in your spot or whatever it is, to really set yourself up so that these, 20 hours that you get to hunt during this week are freaking banger. You have it kind of planned out. And I think that is is just something to keep in the back of your mind. I mean, I know it's something that I try to, like, I heard someone say on a podcast. It was actually a Western podcast years ago. I think it was Cody Rich's, where he was talking about, he was like, how he hunted better when he had less time than when he had more time. He's like, if I had 3 days to go hunt somewhere, I hunted better than when I had 2 weeks, because I kept just thinking, oh, I got time, I got time.
Yes.
But it's like putting, and one thing that I've tried to do, and I feel like I've done better, especially in recent years, is like treating every hunt like this is going to be my last hunt. And then it's like, once I get to the point where I'm like, I can't anymore, like I'm pretty burned out or tired or whatever, maybe I do take that, like you said, that recovery time frame, and which is hard to do, because like
sometimes it's a matter of just sleeping in an hour or two, and then you get mad at yourself.
Yeah.
And then it just changes your focus again. Like, oh, you dummy, you should have been up, and now I want it a little more. It doesn't mean a whole day you sit around.
Yeah, or you're out celebrating your dad's kill, and Johnny can't get out of bed until 10 o'clock in the morning. He's a little defeated.
Well, I mean, my bro Joe kills, I got to be there with him.
Yeah.
Like, unlike some of us.
But that was a reset we needed.
Yeah,
that was a reset.
Some of us, Peter.
I wasn't the one sleeping in. I was trying to get him out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning.
You also did
to go hunt.
You also didn't support my father.
Yeah, he was a little upset that night. That's probably why we drank him extra couple beers. Joe's like, he was down, the morale went down at the celebration there of Joe's kill, and we tried drinking it to make it better, because we're just missing. There was a piece of the puzzle missing.
Yeah, it was like, you have it, and there's like that one piece of the sky that you need to fill in, and you can't find that puzzle piece.
Yep.
That was Pete.
He didn't make it.
You're kind of making me feel a little bit good about that, though. Like, kind of like, you guys need
part of. Yeah,
you make me feel wanted. So I appreciate that, even though.
Yeah, we don't. You're not going to feel wanted anymore, Pete. You're dead to us. No,
I think like it's just such a physical, like it's a large physical demand to do it all year, but it's 100% more of like a mental, mental game. And
totally joking with you, Pete. Like, it's like what you need to do as far as like being alert, being on it, we're not sitting here advocating for people to be partying. Now, that was a reason to celebrate for sure. We're not a bunch of drunks over here that, we like to have a good time when people, because we see how much work that's, being put in and do that. Yeah. But like, you can't do that every day. We're completely joking about, we're not sitting here every time we're at camp, just, being complete degenerates. But,
I mean, but I think also, we know that it's going to just weekends. It's not like all week we're hunting.
Yeah.
So when you get the opportunity, because this, to be up at your camp and celebrate a kill or see all them guys, it's not something that happens all the time. It's a rare occasion. So like, let's live it up and celebrate. Even like I really celebrate not just the hunt, but the kill, the animal. We respect them, and I look at them and I'm like, thank you. I mean, you are that great of an opponent, that I'm going to celebrate your life and what you gave us,
100%.
not just us being hunters and killing. Like, that's just like, man, you guys are.
We respect these animals so much, and like think about it. Without, say, that deer hanging out there in that pole, if you didn't have those deer to chase, and it sounds, crazy of like chasing to kill them, but what would you do? Like,
I know.
I don't know what I would do with my time.
I know.
Probably have a whole lot more money. Like you said last night,
have a lot of money.
We'd have a lot of money. Be focusing on other things, but I don't know, man. It's cool, and like gun season. I've said it before, but like gun season is something that I used to look down on. Like, oh, I got a gun tag or I got a gun hunt, whatever. But man, I like it. Like the older I get, and the more I get to experience different style hunting. Getting to do things differently. It's more camaraderie based, not that, your hunt was, you and Pete, we weren't doing drives or anything, but like the camp atmosphere, being around people, just like there's something about it that is so fun and so awesome about it. That's, I love bow hunting. I love the solo aspect of bow hunting and doing that. But at the same time, once November's kind of done, I'm ready to change it up a little bit and, walk around the woods. And
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the weather we've had, it's hard not to love having a gun tag.
Yeah, 100%. But, well, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Do you have anything else you want to add, Johnny or Pete?
No, I mean, it was a good season. We're getting, well, no, there's a lot of season left. Who am I kidding?
Yeah.
For me, not a lot. I think we're going to maybe do a little more gun hunting, whether it's muzzleloader or whatever in Ohio, maybe some late season if we get some snow. But, yeah, it's been a good year. And
Yeah.
yeah, Pete's going to get that YouTube video out here ASAP, boy.
Yeah, I better start editing.
I think maybe tonight after hunting he's going to start editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll get on it. You know me.
He was making a reel here this morning.
Yeah, he did.
He's I need a little more time.
I only
I
get
said, well, you got up in
20
the
minutes.
morning and went to the gym. He run all the way to the gym and back. I said, you had all morning to make the reel.
Johnny's been trying to fatten me up. I haven't been able to get good lifts. He feeds me nothing but burgers and pork chops.
Sounds like a good meal.
That's not too bad. I can't complain too much.
No, well,
Pete does good. I don't like really giving a lot of credit because then his head will blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't. You got to just beat me down.
Yeah, just keep
Makes me do better.
Pete
Exactly.
does good. No, like I said, I'm serious. Anybody out there that's looking to do some work that's highly motivated, doesn't just talk about it, highly motivated, wants to work hard, wants to learn, wants to be self-motivated, get a hold of me.
Nice.
And yeah, let's do it. But anyways, congratulations again to both you guys, Johnny and Pete. Some awesome Pennsylvania gun bucks, and man, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to, we still got a week left of season here. You guys are going to hang out tomorrow, and we'll get to, hopefully do some more and have a good time.
It's been a great week. Good luck to everyone who still has a tag.
If you have a tag, don't give up. Keep going. Keep moving. Things can change in an absolute instant when you least expect it. So be ready and go check out Johnny's newer YouTube channel, The Johnny Stewart, and follow him on Instagram at The Johnny Stewart. Pete, what's your Instagram?
Pete Six Hunt.
Pete Six Hunt. Pete Six, such a cool name.
That is cool, ain't it? I'm jealous
Yeah,
of that.
I know.
I think that's why I give him a hard time.
I might be Beau Six here soon. I don't know.
We gotta, you gotta give me a couple drinks before that, Bo.
All right. I was thinking if you had a sister, but if that's the way you want to go.
I do.
Okay. All right. We'll talk after.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and good luck. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.